Namaste friends. Welcome to the today's session. Myself, Savita Patil, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, here, Government First Aid College, Kamalapur. In my today's class, we shall see the introduction to the goods and services tax, which is the most important subject for the BCom 6th semester. Okay. Contents of the today's session: introduction, meaning of tax, types of taxes, classification of taxes, taxation powers of union and state government, power to levy taxes to government, provisions of constitution regarding taxation, VAT, and how it is calculated. These are the various things that we shall discuss in my today's class. Introduction, that is, India is a solicit democratic and republic country. The federal structure of India comprises central and state level government. Both the governments share the prime responsibilities, including meeting out the increasing development needs of the country. The primary source of revenue is the levy of taxes only. In fact, in order to stimulate economic growth and fulfill socio-economic objectives, the tax is considered to be the most important source of revenue for the government. Okay, here we are discussing in the introduction part, that is the tax. Here, what is the role of tax? Tax is an important source of revenue to the government. That may be the state or center. It becomes a revenue to the government. So here it is one of the most important revenue, and it is used to fulfill the socio-economic objectives. That's why the tax will play a very important role in an economy. Okay, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೇ, ಇಂದಿನ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು GST ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ರೀ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಇದೆ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೆ. ದಟ್ ಮೈ ಬಿ ದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್. ಈ ಒಂದು ಮನೆಯನ್ನು ನಡ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಈ ವಿಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಿಲ್ ಅರ್ನ್ ದ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ, ಹೌದಾ? ಅದೇ ತರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ನೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಡೆಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಟು ದ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್. ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೆ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ. ಇದು ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಟು ಫುಲ್ಫಿಲ್ ದ ಸೋಶಿಯೋ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಓಕೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಬ್ರೀಫ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ now. Let us see the meaning of tax. A tax is a compulsory contribution from a person to the expenses incurred by the state in common interest of all, without reference to the specific benefits conferred on any individual. The tax cannot be regarded as voluntary payment or donation. Rather, it is enforced contribution which is exacted through legislative authority. The word tax has been derived from the Latin word taxo, which means touch sharply or charge. Means what here? Now let us understand what is the meaning of tax. Here we can understand that the tax cannot be regarded as a voluntary payment. Means what here? If the person wants, he had the willingness to pay, means he has to pay. No, it is a compulsory charge. If the persons were getting the benefit of all the things, means they are liable to pay the tax. So it is a compulsory ಇದೆ. Here the persons have to pay the tax compulsorily if they are crossing the limits of the tax. Okay, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ಮನ್ಸು ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು, ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಯಾವ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದ ಲಿಮಿಟೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ಸ್, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿಲಿ ಪೇ ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಹೌದಾ? ಇದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ ಇದೆ, ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ದ tax. This is the meaning of the tax. Now, let us see what are the types of taxes. The taxes are classified into direct tax and the indirect tax. A direct tax is paid directly by an individual to an imposing entity. The direct tax is type of tax where the incidence and impact of taxation falls on the same entity. It means brunt of direct tax cannot be shifted by the taxpayers to someone else. The significant direct tax imposed in India is income tax. Very important here. Here we can understand what is the meaning of direct tax. Means here the direct tax is paid directly by an individual to the imposing entity, that is to the authority. The direct tax is a type of tax where the incidence and impact of taxation falls on the same entity. Means what? It is on whom it is charged, that person has to pay the tax means what? It cannot be shifted from one person to another person. ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ imposed on the individuals and the person has to pay the tax to whom the tax ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಈ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ a type of tax where the incidence and impact of taxation falls on the same entity means what ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ one person ಇನ್ನೊಂದು person ಗೆ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಯಾರನ್ನ ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ they have to pay the tax. This is called as the direct tax. Example for this is a income tax. Okay, now let us see indirect tax. The indirect taxes are imposed on goods and services. The immediate liability to pay indirect taxes lies on the manufacturer, service provider, seller. Okay, but the burden is ultimately transferred to the consumers. See here, this is what the difference between the direct tax and the indirect tax. Here, under the indirect tax, the tax will be transferred to the ultimately to the consumers. Okay. Now, let us see the classification of taxes, indirect taxes. That is, the taxes are indirect tax and the direct tax, just from what we understood. Now, let us see what are the indirect taxes. That is the GST and the custom. The person paying the tax to the government collects the same from the ultimate consumer. Thus, incidence of the tax is shifted to the other person. Okay. Regressive nature. All the consumers equally bear the burden irrespective of their ability to pay. Means here, if the person has the ability, he has to pay the tax. No, it is not like that. Every person has to pay the tax, whether he may be eligible or may not be. That's he can bear the tax compulsorily. It's a burden on all. They have to pay the compulsorily the tax. Okay. Now features: important source of revenue, tax on commodities and services, shifting on of burden, that is shifting to the from one person to another person. No perception of direct pinch, infinitary, wider tax base, promote social welfare, regressive in nature. Okay, these are the some important features of the indirect taxes. ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟೆಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಅನದರ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾತ್ರ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬೇರ್ ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ನಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡ್ಲಿ, ಯಾರನ್ನ ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್, ಎವ್ರಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಪೇ ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ irrespective of the ability to pay. Okay, this is the meaning of the indirect tax, how it is born. Now, let us see what are the taxation powers of union and state government. In India, the constitution is supreme and all laws and actions of the government are subordinate to it. The constitution provides that no tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. The structure of government in India is federal in nature. As per Article 1 of Constitution, India shall be union of states. There is a bifurcation of powers between union and states. Government of India has certain powers in respect of whole country. Each state has certain powers in respect of particular state. Here means what? The ultimate, the authority is the home it will be, that is the government. Okay, the structure of the government has been classified. All of you know, central and the state both have its own powers. Power of levy taxes to the government. India has a three-tier federal structure comprising the following: the union government, the state government, and the local government. All we know. The power to levy taxes and duties is distributed among the three tiers of government in accordance with the provisions of the Indian Constitution. The Constitution consists of a preamble, that is 25 parts containing 448 articles and 12 schedules. Now let us see what are the provisions of Constitution regarding the taxation. That is 246A, then the 269A, 279A. Let us see. That is the 246A. States and the center to levy tax on goods and services in union. Andre illi enri artha, state and center ge power ide, that is to levy tax on the goods and services. ಆಮೇಲೆ interstate supply, only central can levy tax. ಅಂದ್ರೆ interstate supply ಗೆ who can levy the tax. Only the center had the authority to levy the tax. This is 246A. 269A ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ on interstate supply central will levy GST definitely. IGST will be distributed between the center and the state or ETs. ಅಂದ್ರೆ IGST ಏನಾದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಎರಡನವರು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, between the center and the state. Center will determine place and time of supply. Import and export is deemed interstate state supply. This tells about the 269A. 279 ಏನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ GST Council constituted by President of India, Union, that's a finance ministry, Union Ministers of State and State FMS finance ministers to be its members or ಇದರ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೆಂಟರ್ ವೋಟ್ ವೇಟೇಜ್ 1/3 ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ವೋಟ್ ವೇಟೇಜ್. ಈ ತರ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಗಳು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾವಂದ್ರೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಡ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್. Now let us see value added tax VAT, that is short for value added tax, is a common form of indirect tax levied on services and goods. It is paid to the government by the product producers at every stage in the supply chain. VAT tax is applicable only on goods sold within a particular state, which means that the buyer and the seller need to be in the same state. ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತದ್ರಿ. ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆಡೆಡ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆಡೆಡ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕಾಮನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಇದೆ ಇದು ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಇದು ಲೇವಿಡ್ ಆನ್, ಇದು ಎದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪೇಡ್ ಟು ದ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪೇಡ್ ಟು ದ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್. ಯಾರಿಗೆ? ಬೈ ದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಚೈನ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಚೈನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ? ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್, ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರರ್ಸ್, ಹೋಲ್ಸೇಲರ್, ರಿಟೇಲರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಈ ತರ ಈ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಚೈನ್, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಚೈನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಬಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಡ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ಎ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್. ಇದೇಂದ್ರೆ ವಿದಿನ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದು ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಬಲ್ ಇದೆ. ವಿಚ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಬೈಯರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಸೆಲ್ಲರ್ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಬೈಯರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸೆಲ್ಲರ್ ಏನಿರ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ, ಒಂದೇ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ವ್ಯಾಟ್. ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ. ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಥ್ರೆಶ್ಹೋಲ್ಡ್, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಇಯರ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೇಲ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ 1. Input tax, this is the VAT a registered business will pay on the value of imports and on the value of goods and services acquired or obtained from other registered businesses. The next will be output tax. This is the VAT a registered business will charge its customers when they buy goods and services. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು registered business will pay on the value of imports and on the value of goods and services acquired or obtained. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ? The persons, the business persons who have imported or who acquired the goods. ಹೌದಾ? ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಯಾರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ this is the VAT registered business will charge its customers when they buy the goods and services. ಯಾವಾಗ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, this registered business will impose the tax to the ultimate customers. This is what input and output tax. Okay, payment to do, this is the amount of VAT registered business will have to pay over to the VAT office on the standard rate. This is the VAT rate, 15% applicable on all taxable goods and services in the specie. Zero rated supplies, this means a supply of goods that would have a VAT at a rate of 0%. Exempt supply, this usually means that a supply of goods and services where no VAT is charged. This is what exempted. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ VAT ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, they are exempted from the tax. Invoice credit system, all registered businesses are obligated by law to issue VAT invoices when conducting transactions with other VAT registered business. Invoices ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ receipts they are called as they have to submit. Okay, this is what the some important concepts regarding the VAT. Now let us see how the VAT is charged in India. VAT is the tax which is charged on the gross margin at every stage in the sale of goods. Tax is assessed and collected at each point starting from the manufacturer until the product reaches the retailer. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಚೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಜು ಏನಾಗ್ತದ್ರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರರ್ ಟು ದ retailer reaches point ಒಳಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಂದ್ರೆ each point ಅಲ್ಲಿ the VAT is collected. Okay, it is a multi-stage tax system with the provision for collection of tax paid on the purchases at every point of sale. Thus it removes the tax on tax effect. Every state and union territory has different VAT law. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಏನಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ VAT laws ಇವೆ. Okay, now how is VAT calculated? That is the ಎರಡು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಇದೆ, ಒಂದು ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇಯಬಲ್ ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಮೈನಸ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಬಲ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್, and the payable VAT amount added value of sold goods or services into VAT rate. These are the important two methods of the calculation methods of the VAT. My dear students, in my today's class, we understood regarding the brief introduction about the GST. Okay, means what here? The introduction of the GST, what is the history of tax? Direct taxes, indirect taxes, how they are imposed, and the VAT, how it is calculated. The various things we have discussed in my today's class. Next things we shall see in my next video. If you understood my class, please you have to subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a good day.